The movie begins with Robin, also known as Damian Wayne, arriving at a toy factory against Batman's instructions. Batman, who's Bruce Wayne and Damian's father, asks him why he stole the Batmobile and left. Damian says all the abducted children had toys from the same factory and he found it suspicious. Bruce asks him not to do anything until he arrives, but Damian enters the building. He sees some blood-stained tools on the table and sees several children in cages. A strange man emerges and drops a bucket on the ground. He calls himself the doll maker and releases several children from cages. The children appear normal because he has replaced some of their organs with parts from dolls, and he controls them. He tells Damian that he's doing everything to make the kids survive the cruel world and instructs them to attack him. Damian dodges the attacks and knocks some of the children to the ground. A section of the roof suddenly collapses as Batman emerges. Damian says he can protect himself, but Batman decides to help him. Damian pursues Dollmaker while Batman defeats the abnormal kids. He opens the cages and promises the trapped children they are free as they hug him. Damian pursues Dollmaker and says he must pay for all he has done. Dollmaker says he made the children safe because no one can harm them as his dolls. He tries to continue running, but Damian knocks him down. He threatens to kill him, but remembers Batman's advice and stops. A strange man named Talon emerges from the shadows and kills Dollmaker. He rips out his heart and leaves. Batman arrives and is disappointed in Damian for killing someone. Damian denies killing Dollmaker, but gets angry and asks Batman to find out who killed him. Batman then sees a feather beside Dollmaker's body and picks it up. Later, Bruce has dinner with Samantha and takes her into a room. He shows her his dream for Gotham City and says he wants to make the city a better place. They kiss but hear Damian snoring on a sofa. He wakes up and Bruce introduces him as his ward. Bruce says he will officially announce Damian when the adoption paperwork is completed. Samantha says she has an emergency board meeting to attend and leaves. Bruce realizes Damian was awake all along and asks if he was reading. He suggests they watch a movie of the book together, and Damian agrees. Later, Damian tries escaping from the house, but the security system stops him. Bruce arrives, and Damian says he cannot be held in a house like a prisoner. Bruce tries talking to him, but Damian walks away. Bruce works on some gadgets in the Batcave. Damian enters and apologizes for his attitude. Bruce says they have to be better and stands by his rule about not killing people. He puts on his costume and prepares to leave as he tells Damian he has someone that'll watch over him. Damian spars with Dick and Dick realizes he isn't serious. They begin to argue as they spar and Damian messes with his mind by calling him an orphan. He knocks Dick into Bruce's chair and says he is the true son of Batman. Batman arrives at the museum and goes to the owl exhibit. He finds the owl that the feather belongs to and remembers a story about the Court of Owls. Thomas and Martha, Bruce's parents, tuck him into bed as they tell him the Court of Owls is just a myth. They promise to always protect him, but he remembers that they died. Bruce returns home and uses an arrow to kill an owl that's in the attic. He blames the Court of Owls for his parents' death, but is unable to find them and cries as he talks to Alfred. Three strange men emerge, and their costume resembles Talon's costume. They attack Batman, and he fights back but realizes they are abnormal. They rapidly regenerate from their injuries, and Batman defeats one by blowing him up. The others overpower him as they knock him down but suddenly disintegrate as they are about to kill him. Batman sends an SOS as he passes out. Dick goes to check on Damian but realizes he's left the room. Alfred calls him and informs him that Batman needs help. In the city, two men rob a woman and her husband. They beat the man up and Robin arrives and knocks them down. Talon emerges from the shadows and tells Damian to kill the men. He refuses and Talon asks Damian to follow him. They go to his hideout and Talon says he respects all that Batman has done. Talon says Batman has moral codes that stop him from achieving his goals. He says he's willing to do anything to eradicate crime and asks Damian to join him. He gives Damian a weapon as a gift and gives him a device that he can use to contact him if he makes a decision. Damian returns home, but Bruce and Dick see him. Bruce sees the weapon and questions Damian, but Damian argues with him. Bruce threatens to send him to a boarding school outside of the country and leaves. Outside the room, Dick talks to Bruce and asks him to talk to Damian about the creatures he fought. Bruce refuses and says Damian won't listen. Damien sneaks out of the house at night, and Bruce and the others watch. Alfred confesses that he shut down the security system and says Bruce should have faith. Bruce arrives as he talks to Samantha and several cars approach him. He tries to escape as the cars pursue him, but he's unable to and eventually gets into an accident. Several people wearing owl masks emerge and inject Bruce with a liquid that knocks him out. Bruce wakes up in a strange room and sees several people wearing masks. The Grand Master welcomes him to the Court of Owls and talks about their golden age. Bruce says all golden ages end, and the Grand Master says they were forced to retreat but are back. Bruce asks why they're back, and the Grand Master says they care about Gotham. He says they are the wealthiest people in the city and are tired that their city is being a cesspool of evil. They show Bruce their proposed city and ask him to be a member. Bruce refuses their offer as he drops the mask but hides a tracker on it. He says he needs more time to think about it, and they knock him out again. He wakes up in front of his house but sees the tracker is active. Talon talks to the Grand Master and another member, and the member says Bruce will be a problem if he doesn't join them. The Grand Master says they're on the same page with Bruce and he will join. They walk into the lab and watch as some scientists create the strange creatures that attacked Bruce. They say they're making progress because the creatures can now stay 8 hours out of the reanimation pod before they die. The man tells Talon that he will lead the creatures when they're ready, but will have to become like them. He says it's a blessing to be immortal like the creatures, and Talon says one man's miracle is another man's damnation. The Grand Master talks to Talon and says he knows Talon will willingly accept the role he's given. In a bar, a gang leader named Draco brags about how he runs the city. Talon emerges and says he's their entertainment for the night. They begin to shoot at him, but he dodges and knocks them down. Damien joins Talon and fights the men. They take down all the men and stand above Draco. Talon tells Damien to kill Draco, but he refuses and says he has enough evidence to send him to prison for the rest of his life. Talon gets angry and leaves, and Damien uses a blade to release a man that's hanging from the ceiling. Damien meets Talon on the roof, and Talon says Draco has several lawyers who are keeping him from being arrested. He says he had the opportunity to eradicate him but didn't take it. Talon threatens to find someone to replace Damien and says he has to ignore Batman's voice. While talking, Batman emerges, and Talon says Damien has to decide who he will follow as he runs away. Batman tries to follow Talon, but Damien stops him. Batman says Talon is using him, but Damien doesn't listen. He then tells Damien that the decision he makes will determine the rest of his life, and a fight ensues. Batman pulls his punches as Damien attacks him and they fall off the roof. He cuffs Damien, but Damien escapes and attacks him. They fall into a building, and Batman cushions Damien's fall. Damien continues punching him, and Batman asks him to kill him. Damien refuses and they stand up. He refuses to follow Batman home and goes to Talon's hideout. Meanwhile, Talon lies with Samantha and they talk. He says he isn't rich and powerful like her, and she assures him that their plan for him to join the Court of Owls will work. Batman walks through the old sewer line and follows the tracking device's signal. He talks to Alfred and finds a hidden door. He enters the hallway and Alfred's signal becomes weaker. Bruce arrives at the Court of Owls and the Grand Master welcomes him. He tells Bruce that they have been watching him and recorded his every move. He then says the sewers were flooded with an odorless psychotropic gas that enters through the pores of the skin. Batman begins to hallucinate and sees himself on the night of his parents' death. His young self tells him that Damien has become Gotham's greatest threat, and Damien shoots him. Bruce walks to him and hugs him while being shot. Bruce wakes up and Dick and Alfred attend to him. Dick says he's been out for 7 hours, and Bruce says they have to help Damien. Dick says he searched for him and didn't find him, and Bruce says he'll join the search. Meanwhile, Talon presents Damien to the Court of Owls and says he's destined for greatness. The Grand Master asks Damien to remove his mask, but he refuses. Talon talks to Damien and convinces him to remove his mask. The Grand Master realizes that Damien is Bruce's ward and shows that she is actually Samantha. She realizes Bruce is Batman and says that they can use Damien to get to him. She orders Talon to apprehend and kill Damien, but he refuses and attacks them. He kills several members of the court and talks to Samantha. He kisses her and stabs her, while he says she'd have done the same. Talon walks to Damien and says Batman is a problem and he has to deal with it. He then knocks Damien out. Damien wakes up in the reanimation tank and sees Talon. He tells Damien that he'll be safe there as he awakens the creatures and leaves with them. Bruce and Dick watch as several creatures make their way to the manor and prepare for battle. Bruce says he doesn't know if the Court of Owls is after him after Batman, but he says he'll give them a welcome they will never forget. The creatures enter the building and Batman tells Dick they can be destroyed. A fight ensues and Alfred makes his way to a room with a giant robot. The creatures follow Batman and Dick into the library and continue fighting. They stab Dick's limbs and drag him out, but Batman saves him. He places Dick in a room and locks him in. Talon arrives and joins the creatures to fight Batman. Batman knocks him down and jumps out the window as he detonates some explosives. He runs into a shed and goes underground. Meanwhile, Damien searches for a way to escape. He puts his hand through a pipe and pulls a lever that detaches the tube from the wall. The tube falls and Damien is free. Bruce talks to Dick and tells Alfred he needs the robot. Damien contacts Alfred and informs him that the creature can't function in an extremely cold environment. Batman enters the room with the robot and locks himself inside. Talon emerges with the creatures and he attacks Dick. Damien arrives at the house and sees the commotion. Batman emerges while wearing the giant robot suit. He begins fighting the creatures while making his way to the control room. Batman and Alfred arrive at the control room and Alfred turns down the temperature, causing the creatures to freeze. Talon uses the Batmobile to knock down the robot, but Batman knocks him down using the robot's eject function. A fight ensues and Batman has the upper hand, but Talon stabs him. He falls to the ground and Damien emerges and protects him. They begin to fight and Talon knocks Damien down. He says they'll have to get rid of Batman, but Damien refuses. He points his blade to his neck, and Talon tells him not to doubt his instincts as he pushes the blade into his neck. Damien gets frustrated, but Batman calms him and says he's proud. He welcomes Damien home, but Damien says he can't do anything for himself because he follows Batman's and his grandfather's voices. Batman tells him about a monastery in the Himalayas that helped him when he was younger, and Damien considers going. He then hugs Batman and says he has some packing to do. Later, Bruce, Dick, and Alfred clean the house. Dick says Damien is a child and shouldn't be left on his own, and Bruce says he's mature enough. Dick asks what he'll do if Damien doesn't return, and Bruce says he should have faith in Damien. Meanwhile, Damien sees the monastery at a distance and continues walking to it. The end. Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and tap that bell to be notified about our latest videos. We'll see you next time.